Many people keep asking me from where was coming the idea. Well, it is from the planet Earth, from my background as a motoric experience back in the 90s. Somehow I realized there is room for a kind of competition with the whole idea of a Best Buy car, something for most of the consumers of Europe, the so-called middle class of Europe, which was, in my perception, not existing back then. With this idea, I was encouraged to talk to my friend, Ilya Seliktar, which was such a guy that from the very first moment he said, yes, I want in.
At the end of last century, the idea of new car jury arose in order to choose the Balkan car of the year. A little later, my Romanian colleague Dan Vardia proposed a far more visionary idea of AUTOBEST, an award to distinguish the most acceptable model for the mass audience in terms of affordable price, service, spare parts, and several other qualities important to the mass buyer of cars. Thanks to Dan's perseverance and the right approach to setting up a non-profit organizations, colleagues and friends gathered in Bucharest in 2000 and founded AUTOBEST with Petrus from Cyprus, Dan, Rudy from Slovakia, and Mike Grace. These are the people running the organization now.
Having Ilya on board, I was going to some other friends, motoring writers like Petros, like Rudy Karpat, even late Rade Radulovic from former Yugoslavia was one of my trusted colleagues. And guess what? It was a green light from all of them. That was the moment I decided to found AUTOBEST.
20 years of AUTOBEST. It all started in 1999 when I was in a car presentation in Spain. While I was enjoying my aperitif, Mr. Dan Varty approached me and said with no hesitation, "Do you want to be a part of a revolutionary project regarding the automotive industry?" To tell you the truth, I was shocked because I didn't think that the journalists from a small country like Cyprus could be a part of a project like this. Fortunately, it didn't take long for me to accept this wonderful challenge.
It was a big pleasure for me 20 years ago, as I was invited by Dan Vardy to be co-founder and member of jury AUTOBEST.
But wait a minute, because the name was not back then that one. It was a different one. I don't know why, somehow around me, it started the idea of having a Balkan car of the year, which was a political trap, a mistake. Down the road, I was thinking how to evaluate cars, and being an engineer myself, I discovered that the best way is, like in life, to make a balance between emotional and rational. And that was the origin of our famous 13 criteria matrix, which was designed entirely from scratch. No one did before, and to my knowledge, excepting copies, no one did after. With all this, I realized that the project will be called AUTOBEST, the new Millennium Project. That was around exactly 2000. That year, I decided to found AUTOBEST after a quite important refinement of the concept of the association, and we found it in Bucharest. I invited all my friends to join, and because it was a tax of $500 back then, not everybody was able to join, and that was the reason to be just 6 founders. Although the jury was starting with 9 representatives from 9 countries. Let me tell you a little secret. Just before establishing AUTOBEST, I was asking my trusted friend, the legendary Paul Frere, probably the biggest motoring writer of all time in the history, what he believes about AUTOBEST. And to my huge surprise, he said, "Dan, it's brilliant, do it." And to be honest, he remained an AUTOBEST friend for all remaining his life. With this kind of things running on, after we established the organization, I was going to launch the whole project where in Geneva Motor Show. That was in the spring of 2001. And guess who joined us for the official launch in Geneva? Yes, it was Paul Frere himself, the legend.
Immediately after that, we held a press conference during the Geneva Motor Show, to which we invited representatives of leading car manufacturers. Some of them took the idea to heart, others were quite skeptical. But everybody have realized over the years that our path and approach were right, as evidenced by the expansion of AUTOBEST from regional to the largest pan-European organization of car journalists, uniting today the best representatives of the profession from 32 countries.
To be honest, it did not feel real to me until a year later, when we officially launched the AUTOBEST project at a press conference in Geneva, and the rest is history.
The same year, 2001, we started with the first competition. And from the very beginning, we decided to establish other awards. So we established, I would say naturally, the Company Best Award, the Design Best Award dedicated to the best designers, and maybe surprisingly, Eco Best Award dedicated to all the eco-friendly products, services, companies, activities, and projects. Interesting, back then, I repeat, in 2001, you cannot imagine how many people from the industry or from the media told me, Dan, EcoBest, that's political bullshit. Nobody cares about environment. So, together with my co-founders, I took a leap of faith and we kept the award, which nowadays is probably the most legitimate award in the environment in the whole world, or for sure in Europe, and not only for car industry. Next year, yes, we had the first AUTOBEST Gala. Of course, because I'm coming originally from Bucharest, Romania, the first gala was in Bucharest, Romania, and our first winner car was Skoda Fabia sedan. Do you imagine who was the first winner of Man Best Hall of Fame? Yes. To not be surprised, was Ferdinand Piech himself. Although he was not able to join the festivity in Bucharest, he was sending us a very emotional message, which was read on stage. The next edition of AUTOBEST Gala, also I would say naturally, was going to Sofia, because Ilya was my mate in this, my deputy. He was already the president, and he was organizing for Citroën, because the C3 was the winner back then. And it was the first time when we established this rule to go every year in a different location. A golden rule which is respected also today. In the next year, we organized gala with other new awards, like Safety Best Award. Obviously, safety was becoming very important for everybody. Like Sport Best, like Techno Best, reserved for the most important achievements in the sport. So we become quite a kind of complete awards gallery for the industry, and very important for the all European consumers. At the beginning, as I said, we've been 9 countries, but soon we grew up to 15 countries members, and that was already back in 2015. We've been excellent, very good growth, very organic, but it was limited somehow in our so-called emerging markets of Europe. But the real expansion was back in 2015. Why? Because it was the first time in the history of Europe when an organization born in this part of Europe was going in West Europe and growing in a really big European organization. That was in 2015, and the announcement with 26 countries was in Frankfurt Motor Show. I remember it was in the Stock Market Exchange historical building, a landmark of Frankfurt. Later on, we completed the journey, arriving to 31 European nations represented in AUTOBEST, and this year, the last one, Luxembourg, joined, making a round number of 32. With this huge number of journalists from so many countries, AUTOBEST became the largest independent motoring jury in Europe and the world. During our history, we did a lot of interesting things for the industry and for consumers. We pioneered important things. I will say some of the milestones for the car industry and for consumers. Imagine that back in 2012, we've been the very first organization in the world introducing an award called Smart Best, which is dedicated to the most innovative, most fantastic, captivating, reliable, connected technologies on board of cars. And we said that's the future of motoring. Yes, today we know. We've been also the first to define what is an electric car. Believe it or not, our definition is still the most comprehensive definition of an electric car of today. We also established another award which is called A Star is Born. This award is dedicated to the new startups in the world of mobility. And it's really about a small company or a medium-sized company to be a star one day. Our first winner was VinFast from Vietnam. In just 3 years, Vietnam is becoming very quickly a global power in the automotive industry. At the beginning, our gala was just a get-together of journalists, people from the industry. It was so nice, a friendly get-together. And it was going all around this part of Europe, which was fantastic. However, the moment of boom of this gala was back in 2016, when I decided to have it in Milano, Italy. Why Milano? Because Giovanna Mazzocchi, which is my best friend, the owner of Quattro Rote, was always pushing me to do something for her, and together we decided that the best place is Milano, and she promised me to help, which, by the way, happened. By tradition, I announced the gala with 1 year and a half in advance, just to be out of any suspicion that there is a connection between the location of the gala and the winner, because it's never like that, never happened. When we'd been in Milano, the announcement was coming early before we knew even the finalists, even before knowing the eligible cars. Yes, it was happening. First time when the winner was Fiat Tipo. And imagine our good friend back then, which was the COO of Fiat Chrysler Automobili in Europe, Alfredo Altavilla, who told me, Dan, you are my full support. I want to have a fantastic gala. Sergio Marchionne is coming. And you know, when Sergio is coming to an event, everybody should be very prepared. My dream in Milano was to organize something in Scala. It was not possible, not because of money, just because it was a sponsorship with a different company which was not the winner of AUTOBEST, but that was not a problem. You know why? Because we choose Teatro Versace, and inside the legendary theater of Gianni Versace, we simply built Scala in Milano, like in the movie. That was the first time I was thinking to do it more closely to the Hollywood style. However, in Milano was only about opera. We also came in 2017 with an important document of the motoring media in Europe and worldwide, the so-called AUTOBEST Credo, where for the first time in the media, we designed the 4 mega trends in just 4 words: green, connected, autonomous, and sharing. Yes, today we all know, but back in 2017 was something new and definitely not in the media, because the trends being set first by the car industry, and later on consumers started to understand. Then in 2018 we did it in Salzburg, in Austria, and to me will always remain so important, because it was the first time when my long time dream to have an AUTOBEST Hall of Fame of legends was possible to make it. And that one was Mr. Dr. Wolfgang Porsche was the first Hall of Famer joining us. During the same event, we pioneered a completely new project, which is the cooperation with Coventry University, which is about having a cooperation in financing young talents to become accredited motoring writers, which I believe is the next level of motoring journalism. When we celebrated 18 years, we did it in Brussels. Why? Because Brussels was the capital of Europe, and talking about Hollywood, it was in a museum, the famous Auto World Museum, full of cars from the history, like is here around me in the Syriac collection. Back then in Brussels, we invented a scenario like in the famous cartoon movie, Cars. We managed to make cars to talk one each other and with our guests. That was, we have to say, a bit of Hollywood. And last year, we've been in Mainz, exactly before the pandemic time, with Jean Todt, which was the third AUTOBEST Hall of Famer after Ratan Tata, which was the second 1 year before, with so many top executives, with so many nice awards, and it was really something to not forget. Remember, just few days before the crisis of pandemic started. And here we are today with this postponed gala, which was supposed to be in Strasbourg. But unfortunately, Strasbourg was always, during pandemic, a kind of red zone. So we moved to Barcelona, which was much more appropriate for this year. But is a promise. Next year, if things go well and we have no problem with pandemic, yes, we will have it in Strasbourg, which is the Parliament of Europe, which is in a way like AUTOBEST, because we, in AUTOBEST, we represent the European consumers. And for the record, every day in Europe, we have somewhere between 50 and 100 million people in cars, driving cars, being driven, in taxis, in Uber, in whatever kind of transport, sharing, whatever. Yes, car is an important part of our lives. It will remain, but obviously the mobility will increase, and nowadays we are in a debate how we will increase our mobility. Whatever will happen, AUTOBEST is here to stay. AUTOBEST will evolve with all these concepts, as you will see, even today in this evening.
9 founding members with a simple and challenging goal: make AUTOBEST big and powerful. And here we are, 20 years later, making this video for the younger generations to know how it all began, how do I see the future of AUTOBEST? It's simple for me. The best is yet to come.
AUTOBEST will have in future very important commitment, most of them in electrification and other technical challenges.
AUTOBEST is representing the future of motoring because we humbly try to understand what kind of future, when the electric cars will take over ICE engines. And we do not talk about political decisions. We just try to understand everything, starting with political decisions, going to the capabilities of the industry, but also, even more than everything else, to understand, are the European consumers ready to embrace this future? How we at AUTOBEST can contribute to this understanding. And we believe that our awards, starting with the Best Buy Car of Europe, is just trying this to help people to see what is the best in each field, in each domain of the car industry. With this guideline, the mission sometimes is more easier. However, we are far from being perfect, but we work to become better.